even get to cross.
What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from TheTokenMinorities, and I am back with my Week 5 battle from the GBA D-League Season 3. This week we are against its regulator in the Los Angeles Clefable. If you haven't already seen the team builder supporting this video, make sure to go check that out. It'll be linked in the first line of the description below, as per the usual. On that video, I'll go over all the nitty-gritty details on the sets, spreads, and yeah, everything about the Pokemon from this battle will be talked about in that video, so make sure to go check that out if that's something you are interested in. Now, also, once again, want to give a shout out to my opponent, its regulator. He also will be linked in the description below. Talked about him a bit in the team builder, but a very high quality content creator, very entertaining, charismatic, just a really entertaining guy to watch. And if you haven't seen any of his videos before, go give him a look and you will not be disappointed. I can guarantee you on that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this matchup a bit. And actually, first, I also want to shout out my opponent once again for recording this game for me, because as I think I've mentioned a few times now, my capture card broke and I'm not able to record my own games currently until I get that fixed at some point. I guess in the off season is when I'm going to have to do that. So yeah, kind of have to piggyback on some of my buds to help me out with recording right now. So thanks, Greg, for helping me on that. You are awesome. Now, looking at the team preview. So my opponent, Greg, decided to bring the Rotom Wash, Mega Gallade, the Celesteela, Nihilego, Sneasel, and the Zygarde 50. So no real surprises here. I thought that the Sneasel, there was a chance it might not actually come, but the other five were like definite. I definitely believed that Rotom, Gallade, Celesteela, Nihilego, and Zygarde were coming. Sneasel was kind of up in the air, so it'll be interesting to see what he decides to bring on that. The reason why I wasn't so sold on Sneasel was that it wasn't going to be able to pack coverage for my whole team, in that it needs Ice Shard for Torn. It obviously wants Knockoff, so then it needs to carry Iron Tail, Low Kick, and Icicle Crash to be able to deal with the rest of my team well, in my opinion. It doesn't really need to have Icicle Crash necessarily, but I just didn't really think the Sneasel was the best breaker against my team when it has to bring all four coverage moves there, including the Ice Shard, Knockoff, Iron Tail, and Low Kick, to be able to deal with my entire team. So I'm more expecting this to be more of a Breaker Sneasel here when I see this team preview. Breaker Sneasel with the Zygarde as the win condition, maybe the Mega Gallade as the win condition in the back, just looking at team preview based upon what he brought. I could have also seen like the Alolan Marowak or the Whimsicott in the Sneasel slot, but decided to bring the Sneasel, so that's fair enough. On my end, I have a Scolipede, which is somewhat bulky with Endeavor Spikes, Z Megahorn, and an Aqua Tail. Diancie is Trick Room with Dual Stab and Earth Power. With Weakness Policy, it's my win condition in this game if you haven't seen that from the team builder already. I have a Tornty, which is Bulk Up, Acrobatics, Knockoff, and Taunt, also somewhat fat. Basically a Torn that I'm bringing because I don't want to miss Hurricane 2 weeks in a row, pretty much, if I'm being honest. I'm not even going to deny that. And then I have Seismitoad, Rindo Berry, Rocker, just a very standard utility Seismitoad, Fizz Dev investment to help me out against things like the Zygarde and the Sneasel. And even the Gallade to an extent, maybe get a burn on it with Scald. Mega Kangaskhan is for attacks with Sucker Punch and Facade. My dedicated offensive switch into the Rotom, I can pivot between the Seismitoad and Mega Kangaskhan to get free switches to the Rotom and be able to break through his team effectively, as I really don't think his team has the best Mega Kangaskhan switch in, so that's something I really would like to abuse, catching the Rotom on a turn where he's unlikely to go for a Volt Switch. And then I have the Mew, which is Fizz Def with Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, Will-O-Wisp, and Roost to deal with the Zygarde and the Mega Gallade specifically, mainly the Zygarde. This team is designed to not let Zygarde beat me. He can beat me with anything else on his team if he designs his team to do so, but if his team is designed to win with Zygarde, it's not going to happen. I can guarantee that. So that is the team that I'm bringing. In terms of the lead matchup, I've been through this a lot, just looking through my Theirumon in this team, Theirumon in this battle, and his best lead is Rotom. Okay, he's going to lead Rotom like every single day of the week. He's leading Rotom. So my best lead is to lead with my Scolipede, because he's not going to go for a Wisp on turn 1 in case I am sub. He is going to Volt Switch, meaning that my Spike is absolutely free, meaning that I'm going to be at least weakened to the point where Endeavor does measurable damage to anything on his team. If he wants to go immediately into Steela, I could go for another Spike. I could also just switch straight to my Seismitoad and get my next Hazard. So there's a lot of directions I can go with this play on turn 1, but I know for a fact he's going to Volt Switch with the Rotom immediately on turn 1 if I lead with the Scolipede. So that's exactly what I'm going to go for, and let's go ahead and jump straight on into this battle. as my opponent Greg is going to issue that challenge in just a second, and I am going to lead off with that Scolipede as he is going to choose to, shocker, lead off with the Rotom Wash. So what's going to happen here on turn 1, as I've already mentioned just at the team preview, knowing exactly how this turn 1 is going to go, I'm going to set up a Spike. I have no reason not to. That Spike is very important in terms of getting the Mega Gallade and Zygarde into range of the Diancie late game. So that's what I'm going to do. As he goes for the Volt Switch, the damage reveals that he is most likely an uninvested Rotom, making me think that he's probably more specially defensive to take on the Torn T, as he decides to go into the Zygarde on my Scolipede, which I found very interesting. I thought about going for the Z Mega Horn here, but I still have a full health Mew, and I see the leftovers on this turn, so I'm no longer fearing the Z move option, which is really nice. I go into my Mew here, and even if he goes for like a Toxic, expecting that, Synchronize kicks in. Even if he's behind a sub and goes for a sub here, followed by a Toxic, Synchronize kicks in, and that Toxic damage and just the toxic damage over time will really take a toll on the Zygarde, as he's just going to go for a Dragon Tail with damage revealing that he is not very invested offensively. So it's probably more of a Spadef Zygarde is what I'm thinking here at this stage in the game. A Spadef Zygarde would be able to both take hits from Scolipede if I don't have a Swords Dance, and take hits from Torn T as needed, as I get actually Dragon Tailed into my Mega Kangaskhan, which is kind of nice because now this is the freest Ice Punch of my whole life, as that's exactly what I'm going to go for as he pulls the switch into his Celesteela, and that immediate switch into Steela tells me that this very likely might be a Rocky Helmet Celesteela, or at least Fizz Def. And I kind of expected Steela to be a switch in, I'm not going to lie, but this damage from Ice Punch, as you see here in just a second, does more than I expected. I think this is actually more of a specially defensive Celesteela, so if I had brought SD Scolipede, he would have been in actually a world of hurt, I think. So very interesting prep on his part, I think, bringing more of a specially defensive Celesteela, but it's fine by me considering my team is primarily physical in this game. So I'm going to go into my Seismitoad here instead of going for the Thunder Punch, just in case he goes for the Leech Seed and is able to basically stall me out. Maybe he has Leech Seed and Protect plus the Rocky Helmet. I lose my Kang very quickly in that case, and I wanted to just go into my Seismitoad because Stealth Rocks are going to be important in terms of just wearing down his team over time, specifically this and the Rotom, as these two Pokemon are looking like his defensive core in this game most likely. So I'm going to get up my rocks as he decides to fire off a Leech Seed, which is fair enough. That's a fine play on his part. He's going to want to get health back on this Celesteela, especially considering his Rocky Helmet does not have leftovers. That Leech Seed is going to be something he's going to want to click a lot during this game. So unfortunately for me, that means it's going to be a lot of time wasted between turns with the Leech Seed and the Toxic and all that. But regardless, I'm going to go and switch out here into my Scolipede, knowing that he's probably not going to go for an offensive move on that turn. There's a good chance he will go for a double Leech Seed, and he actually goes for a Metal Sound and misses, which was pretty interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and set up another Spike instead of getting pitiful damage off with an Aqua Tail or maybe an Endeavor, just because the second Spike ensures that if he is a Spadef Mega Gallade by Diancie, will be able to take him out with relative ease, even without a boost, I believe. So that's kind of nice, as I'm going to lose my Scolipede here, but that's fine. It did its job. It got 2 spikes. I have rocks on the field. We are good to go to start punching away at his team. In comes the Torn T. This is a very free knockoff or a taunt. I decided to go for a taunt first, just in case he wants to stay in and get a Toxic off on my Torn T. I thought that was overall a little bit safer, and if he goes into Rotom, I still have the Seismitoad in the back that I can go into and pivot into Mega Kangaskhan and still do more damage to him that way in the long run. So I thought taunt was overall a little bit better, although knockoff on this turn, obviously, in hindsight, would have been a little nicer just to be able to wear down the Rotom and get rid of whatever its item is. So he's going to go into his Nihilego here, expecting me to just go for a knockoff, I assume, and this is more him taking the opportunity to try to go for, I think, his Stealth Rocks, because this is the only rocker that he brought, the only potential rocker that he brought, and because I'm still at full health and I've knocked off his item, I know for a fact I can take any one hit from this Nihilego, and I am willing to take that hit to get rid of this thing because it is a threat against my team. So I'm going to go for the Acrobatics, knowing it 2 KOs, and he's just going to go for his Stealth Rocks like I predicted. So I'm going to be able to get rid of the Nihilego here on the next turn, which is nice. We're now at a 5-5 score. It's already looking pretty close, but Diancie's also looking pretty clean in the back. Unfortunately, this was probably the best setup fodder for my Diancie in terms of staying healthy and getting a Trick Room up. So I'm going to have to find some other form of setup fodder late game. Maybe it's going to be the Sneasel, maybe the Rotom, maybe the Mega Gallade. There's a few options for that, but here I'm going to switch out into my Seismitoad on the Rotom just because it's pretty free. I don't think he's going to go for a Hidden Power Grass on this turn, and even if he has it and does, I do have the Red Berry to be able to take it as he decides to go for a Volt Switch, I believe, on that turn, Obviously doesn't affect me because I'm a ground type, and now I'm going to be able to pivot directly into my Mega Kangaskhan, expecting him to reveal the Hidden Power Grass on this turn as he actually pulls a double into his Celesteela. Now, while it kind of is bad for me that this happened, because he's already revealed to be a specially defensive Celesteela, I'm actually okay with leaving my Mega Kangaskhan in here to go for a Thunder Punch, because based upon the damage from Ice Punch, I believe this is probably going to be a 2-hit KO with the Thunder Punch. And as you can see here, I'm actually going to get a critical hit, so oops. Sorry about that, but even so, I do think it would have probably been a 2-hit KO. But look at this damage on Celesteela. In my brain, it clicked that I think I could be able to save Kangaskhan to get damage off on the Rotom Wash later in the game. I felt like I needed Mega Kangaskhan alive to get one more big hit off on the Rotom Wash, so for whatever reason in my head, it clicked to me that I probably should switch out Mega Kangaskhan here instead of taking out the Celesteela and go into my Torn T, knowing that I could probably still knock out the Celesteela because he is specially defensive with a knockoff, even if he goes for a Leech Seed on this turn of switch out, which is exactly what he does. However, the calc for knockoff is actually only going to allow me to do about 19% to him at the max, and right there looking at that HP, I thought he was at maybe like 10% or so, but because he's now above 25% with the Leech Seed, I don't think, or after the Leech Seed, I don't think I'm going to be able to take him out, and he survives on like, I don't know what that is, like 1 or 2%, maybe 3%, so yeah, that was a misplay on my end, quite honestly, and it's pretty bad too, because now, because he has the Leech Seed up, I can't actually knock this out with my Torn. In this case, it might have been better to have the Superpower, as that was something I was playing with a lot in my team building, was having either Superpower or Taunt on this Torn. I went back and forth between the two. This is where Superpower would have been nice, because I would have been able to get rid of this Celesteela right here, instead of having to switch out and sack off my Kangaskhan here to be able to knock this thing out without it being able to continuously recover with the Leech Seed. So that's on me. That was my own mistake. The reason why the mistake occurred was because I wasn't able to properly gauge the damage that the Celesteela had taken. I wasn't really sure exactly if it was going to be in range of the Torn, and you know, that kind of comes with being a little inexperienced on Wi-Fi. I think being a showdown player by nature, that's more what I know, more what I'm able to work with, and you know, a lot of the guys in the league have this fancy little damage bar that they're able to slap on their game and see exactly how much percent is left, but you know, my capture card broke, so I can't use that myself anymore, so that kind of sucked. But anyways, this actually forces me to go into my Diancie on the Celesteela to try to take it out with a Power Gem, because nothing else on my team, I don't think, is going to be able to effectively do that, and I can't risk my Mew letting it get toxic, because otherwise I lose to Zygarde. So yeah, or could lose to Zygarde if it's a coil set, when after seeing the leftovers and Dragon Tail, it very well could be. So this is kind of bad. Alright, this is really bad now, because my win condition has been forced out due to my misplay, or forced in rather, due to a misplay earlier in the game. Now I'm going to just go for the Trick Room, hoping I can survive a Hydro Pump plus plus the toxic damage, or hoping he'll just choke maybe and go for a Volt Switch, as if he goes for a Volt Switch on that turn on my Trick Room, I actually still have a good chance of being able to come out on top with a pretty high differential. His Mons are looking pretty weakened, especially with all those hazards up. All he has left at this point is this Rotom and 3 Mons that are weak to Fairy Stab. So if he had a Volt Switch out on this turn, I actually would have been able to have a very good chance of winning this game, I think. But here he's just going to sack off the Zygarde to the +2. Moonblast, very much so going to be a knockout here. There's no way Zygarde's going to be able to survive this hit, as it's going to go down very fast due to the Moonblast. So Diancie's really putting in a lot of work offensively this season. I believe now it has 5 kills this season, which is pretty crazy, and only 1 death here now to the poison damage. So way to go, Diancie. Pretty good mon. I definitely would recommend Diancie as a fairy. It's a very underrated and super threatening offensively. So here I'm going to go into my Mew, expecting him to go into Rotom on the double down. This also would cover a potential switch into the Gallade, and I did not at all expect him to go into the Sneasel yet. I think Sneasel is win con in the back based upon how he's playing it. If it was a breaker, he would have been bringing it out much earlier in the game, but he's playing it like an SD variant, so I'm actually kind of concerned right now, as I don't think I have the best ways to deal with SD now that I've been forced to spend my Diancie dealing with the Celesteela. As I'm just going to go for I Shadow Ball, I believe, on this turn. What happened here? I missed what was going on as I was saying that. It's going to take the hazards damage, so Gallade's getting chipped a little bit already, which is nice, as I think he just went for a Volt Switch. I went for a Shadow Ball as he went for a Volt Switch, and now I am going to be able to because the Trick Room is up, actually just go straight for a Will-O-Wisp here on the Gallade, which is nice. Getting that damage off, or getting that burn off on the Gallade makes sure that it's not going to be able to beat me as an offensive threat. But it turns out he's just going to go for the taunt, which tells me it might be more of a bulkier Gallade, more of a support Gallade. Don't really know what exactly it's going to be, but the burn definitely does help in terms of keeping it in check, just in case it is bulk up or SD. As I'm going to switch out now because I am taunted. I don't want to allow the Sneasel to come in for free, and I don't have any way to touch the Sneasel if it is SD. I need to try to keep it out if I can. I'm just going to go hard into my Torn. If he does stay in, he's probably going to go for a knockoff or an X-Scissor, both of which I know I can take from a burned Mega Gallade. So that's what I'm going to do. Going to go into my Torn, and here I'm just going to go for an Acrobatics to force him out. I feel like it's basically a kill, or at least weakening the Rotom into range of my Mew. So Mew is really my win condition at this stage in the game. If I keep Mew healthy and maybe, you know, not taunted so I can Wisp the Sneasel, then I might be able to still pull this game out despite not being able to really use my Diancie the way I intended to, as he actually reveals to be the Rocky Helmet on the Rotom, which sucks a lot. Okay, this sucks a lot, and it sucks a lot because now what this means is that I'm not going to be able to take out the Rotom without losing my Torn, and if I still had the Torn around, I'd be able to force in the Sneasel instead of the Mega Gallade on the next turn, which means that the Sneasel is in against the Mew, and I basically force him into a 50-50, where if I win that 50-50 and I'm able to burn the Sneasel, or, you know, take out the Mega Gallade on the next turn in, then I actually could have won this game with Mew in that scenario. But because he has the Rocky Helmet, I'm actually in a pretty bad spot, I think, losing my Torn T there, as the Rotom is going to be able to get off the Toxic on my Mew. And if I had something like Flamethrower or Dazzling Gleam or Aura Sphere as my last move on this Mew, then the Sneasel might not have been as big of an issue. And, you know, in hindsight is 50-50. I could have just brought Dazzling Gleam instead of Ice Beam on this Mew to be able to hit both, or even Dazzling Gleam over, even potentially Dazzling Gleam over Shadow Ball maybe, as that would also hit the Gallade. Not really sure, but just a different combination of moves to be able to actually hit the Sneasel with my Mew could have been nice, but I still think this was the best Mew set I could have brought, so I am going to actually be able to take out the Mega Gallade with the Shadow Ball thanks to the Expert Belt. I don't think that would have knocked him out without the Expert Belt, but because I am taunted, he's going to be able to go into his Sneasel. I still have a chance to win this game if he is not SD Sneasel, as the combination of Life Orb Recoil, plus the Spikes, plus the Rocks, plus this one hit from the Mew that I should be able to get off, even if he is just going to straight attack me with one knockoff. I should be able to take this hit with my investment, I believe. But that combination plus the Scald from my Seismitoad actually could have won the game, but he is indeed a SD Sneasel, and he is going to be able to knock out my Mew here with a knockoff, and then knock out my Seismitoad on the next turn of the game with a knockoff as well. So we are unfortunately going to lose this game 1-0 against the Los Angeles Clefable. If we look back just a few turns ago, the play that I talked to you guys about where I, you know, misread the amount of damage that the Celesteela had taken, misread the fact that I thought my Torn would be able to knock out the Celesteela. Looking back at that turn, that was the game-defining turn of this game. I really think I somewhat beat myself when it comes to that type of play. In a risk situation like that on Wi-Fi, where you really don't know, for sure the percentage that a Pokemon is at, in that kind of situation, I think it's better to play it safe. I did not play it safe. I took the risk thinking that, hey, if I get this right, I have this extra advantage of having Kangaskhan to get off another big hit against this team later on. I thought, that was my thought process. I might be able to have that extra hit for Mega Kangaskhan, but the fact remains, if I had just taken out the Celesteela on that turn, I would have been in a much better position with my Torn T healthy and not toxic, with my Diancie, the Wincon, still intact and at full health and not toxic. I would have been in a much better position there in the late game if I just stayed in with my Kangaskhan. So, you know, it's a mistake. I'm human. It happens. And we're going to learn from it and move on. No shame in losing to Greg, though. While I think I could have played better on that one specific turn, and maybe that would have changed the result of the game, there's no way of really knowing just because there's a variety of plays he could have made. It would have been a double down in that scenario. It would have been hard to predict exactly what he would have gone into. I think he would have gone into Rotom, and I probably would have gone into my Diancie, honestly, on that turn, just in case he went Sneasel. But Even so, then it becomes a matter of, while I would probably Trick Room on that turn, he could go for a Toxic. He could also go for a, he could also just go straight for a Hydro Pump. And if he goes for a Hydro Pump on that turn, which is possible, he might if he's not expecting me to be Weakness Policy, then what that means is I could have lived that hit, and due to my investment, actually been able to take Hydro Pump plus a Life Orb Ice Shard from an unboosted Sneasel, could have gone for the Trick Room on that turn, and then literally swept his team at that stage in the game. So, you know, a little unfortunate there. While it might not have been able to clean sweep his team actually in hindsight, because he might have had extreme speed on Zygarde, I'm not sure. If he didn't have priority on Zygarde and only had Ice Shard on the Sneasel, I know he had Ice Shard on Sneasel, then the Diancie could have actually just swept him in that case. There late game, literally the turn after I made the mistake or right after the, literally the turn after I made the mistake with Kangaskhan, I could have just gone into Diancie and potentially gone for a game right then. So it's kind of frustrating that I make kind of a silly mistake, literally the turn before I could have potentially gone for a game, but you know, you misread damage rolls, and that just goes to show like how vital that little HP bar is. I'm sure you've seen it at least on Aster's videos. I think Leo uses it as well, and Greg probably used it when he was doing live comms before. That little HP bar that indicates the percentages that a mon is at, an opponent's mon is at, that is so clutch on Wi-Fi. It's so nice, and whenever I go into this game without it, it just feels like you're going in naked. Like, it's so much harder. It's insanely harder, and it did kind of cost me here. It's obviously my own misplay, but I'm just saying, like, if I had known, then, you know, it might have been a little bit different, but can't really complain too much about that. That's a luxury, if anything. So I'm going to move on from it, though. So very good game to Greg. I thought he played well. His team building was phenomenal. I thought it was a very, very good team that he brought. The game plan there at the end with the Taunt Mega Gallade into an SD Sneasel on the Mew that he apparently predicted. Otherwise, I don't know why he would have made that sequence of plays, but good on him. That was very cool. But yeah, we're gonna move on from it. And next week we have a game against someone who kind of rivals Aberforth as a master of hyper offense, and that is HLD Productions, Randy, who is brand new to the draft scene. I don't even know if he's played much draft format before the D-League, but like, he sure acts like he does. He plays like he has experience. He's definitely very knowledgeable as a battler. His building has been solid. I would say he is just a very strong builder. Like, I'm not even trying to just be nice. Like, he is a very strong builder, and that's tough because his team is good. Like, it's spooky. He's got like Tapu Koko, Mega Sizzle, Hydreigon. He's got a lot of cool stuff that we're going to have to try to work our way around and not get worn down too quickly. But he loves his offense, so I got to be able to combat that. But yeah, so I guess we're going to go ahead and sign off here. Unfortunately, picking up the loss, but we're going to try to bounce back here next week and get back on that winning track. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all next week. Peace.